It's him again. The same baldy head, the same earring, the same brownish eyes. We will start off today with William Shakespeare again. Which, how many times have I done this? 4 times? Well, it keeps getting better and better, hopefully, and I hope this one will be the best that you've seen until I do another one. Why am I doing another William Shakespeare biography for like the 4th time? Isn't 3 enough? Well, it's because I'm reading King Lear. And that's the only reason. We're going to read King Lear soon, and because no one's going to go ahead and scroll up and search through my videos for like William Shakespeare, at least I think they won't, I'm just going to go ahead and put this as a refresher right before the book again, which is why we're doing William Shakespeare again. Let's get to start with William Shakespeare. As always, he was born sometime in April of 1564. We have no idea exactly when in April 1564, but historians love to put April 23rd as his birthday. Mainly because, number 1, he was baptized on April 26th of 1564, and it's traditional for like the baby to be baptized 3 days after it was born, and he died on April 23rd, which is the same time that he was born, so this is obviously why it's appealing to historians a lot. He was born in Stratford-upon-Avon. This is the cottage that he lived in. And something I didn't mention in my old videos was like Stratford-upon-Avon. This was in Warwickshire in England. His dad was John Shakespeare, and I was finally able to get a good picture of him. This is the official picture of John Shakespeare. Unfortunately, I could not get a picture of his mother. Sad. John Shakespeare was an older man, and he was the clown's glover. This means that he was the glove maker at the town, and he was pretty good at it. And he was offered the position of alderman, mainly because he was one of the richest people in town and one of the most influential ones. And what is an alderman? Well, he gets paid to get drunk. He drinks alcohol for a living, and obviously who would not refuse a job like that, I would suppose. Me, I don't really like alcohol. I have terrible issues with alcohol. And this was not enough to make the visits. This is why he went ahead and started selling a bunch of wool. Sheep's wool, and at the time, you had to have a license to go ahead and sell sheep's wool. But, unfortunately, he did not have a license, and as a result, he sold this illegally, which created big profits. And as a result of coming from a rich family, William Shakespeare was able to be sent to grammar school. More specifically, he was educated at that time it was called King's New School. Nowadays, it is called King Edward VI School. And although every grammar school was different, it had a different curriculum, it had different standards of like how good they were. They did, however, have the same standards curriculum. The first one being the Latin text that was standardized by the royal decree, and learning the Latin language itself and how to write poems and how to write text, that kind of thing. With this higher education, they would pretty much do what we today would do in college. Like, the education that was offered here is something that people would do in college nowadays. After they grew up and went to like college, these guys were doing it at the age of like 10 and 11. They were learning Latin at 10 or 11, whereas nowadays we wouldn't even be learning that, come to think of it. And speaking of which, when Shakespeare went ahead and graduated at the age of like 18, he didn't graduate at the age of 18. He had to leave school way earlier. He had to go help his dad with the glove making business, mainly because they found out that he was illegally selling wool and took away his alderman position. And he was pretty sober. Either way, at the age of 18, he went ahead and met and married 26-year-old Anne Hathaway. 6 months after their marriage, which the certificate was shown to have November 27th of 1582, they had a daughter named Susanna. 2 years after that, they had 2 twins, Hamnet and Judith. Hamnet, at the age of 11, died for unknown causes, which we have no idea to this day. And this is when we get Shakespeare's lost years. This is where he gave literally no historical evidence of what he did during this time. And we don't hear anything about him until he reappears onto the scene of London theatre. Literally, the very first theatre was called the theatre. That's why it's called the theatre. Until he came back onto the scene in 1592. And this is what he became part of the Lord Chamberlain's Man, which unfortunately I could not get to be able to download a photo of. And he started writing a bunch of plays. Obviously, his fellow playwriters did not like him, because whereas they all went to college, he didn't even go to college, and arguably he even created better plays than them. They were all too strict and uniform, and Shakespeare himself was able to go ahead and ooh la la, and just kind of void, yeah, let's do this. At the start, his most famous play arguably would be Romeo and Juliet. That wouldn't be his finest play in my opinion. So because like as I read on through his plays, I realize that as he grows older, he becomes a more mature writer too. And they were kicked out of the theater that they were always performing in. There was this loophole though. The loophole being that, hey, I own the theater, not the land. I built that theater with my own money. The land you own, I don't care about that. So they went ahead and at the middle of the night, took apart the theater and then rebuilt it into the Globe. And the Globe itself looked like, this is not a good replica of it, I would have to say, but good enough. A replica of the Globe where they still do theaters and dramas to this day. On this stage, they were able to go ahead and perform several of the great plays ever, like Julius Caesar and Antony and Cleopatra, Romeo and Juliet, etc. Those kinds of things. And it always worked out pretty fine too. And then one day they went ahead and had a little accident. Shakespeare decided he wanted to retire and wrote The Tempest, which meant that he would go ahead and leave theater soon, and he would retire soon. 52 years old. That's pretty old for the time. And then he was commissioned. He decided to write one more play and perform it, Henry VIII, or was it the 7th? And and it was Henry VIII or it was Henry VII. And during that time, the Globe was burned down, mainly because the cannon that was used for the entrance shot had a stray spark, which turned the hot theater into a hot, fiery mess. What happened to it in the end? Well, we definitely don't know, but it's definitely worth it. Because William Shakespeare retired at the age in 1613, and then he died on April 23rd of 1616 in Stratford-upon-Avon. Not before he died, though, he was able to go ahead and get his father his coat of arms, something that his father wanted a lot. And then he died. His wife went ahead and created this monument towards him. I'm not even gonna bother reading this. Old English, not worth it. And that's it. That's the life of William Shakespeare. So hopefully you learned more in this video about William Shakespeare than any of the other videos I've created ever. And I hope you have enjoyed this video too. You have probably sick of seeing this photo over and over again. Not this photo. This one new. This one's also new. This one's also new. This one's not new. But other than all the changes, I hope this is the best version I've ever created of William Shakespeare. Until next time, bye bye. Peace out.